Hi everyone, 3 Men and a Whisky, and I have almost caught up with my advent calendars. I've boxed that one off, the chocolate one. That was never really a concern, but I'm still a little bit behind on my Whiskey and Christmas movie one. Only one behind. By tomorrow I should be back on track, which is a good feeling because that'll be a week to the day from Christmas Day, the big event. Now, the 3 movies I've done before this one have all been 1980s classic Christmas comedies. All of them aimed really at grown-ups rather than children. And so I thought it was probably about time that I got back to a more traditional Christmas movie, one that was aimed at families and children and is accessible to all. And to do that, I'm stepping out of the 1980s and I'm going to 1994 for the remake of the classic movie Miracle on 34th Street. Now, there's been loads of versions of this film. I've never seen any of them, if I'm honest with you. I know the 94 version isn't considered the best. Probably the original, which I think is from 47, is considered the greatest. But I'm going to watch the 94 version because that was my dad's favourite. My dad absolutely loved this movie. And I never saw it because by the time this came out, by the time it became a staple in my parents' household, I'd already moved out and gone off to university. So it kind of passed me by, really. So I'm going to reconnect with something like this just to see what all the fuss was about, see if it's any good. I'm sure it's going to be immensely sappy and sentimental and ultra Christmassy and sweet. But, that's what it's all about, right? So I'm going to give that a go. There is a link between this film and the one that went before it. I like to try and keep a bit of a flow going, and that link is the late great John Hughes. John Hughes, who co-wrote and produced Miracle on 34th Street, this version of it, and of course was heavily involved in the National Lampoon films as well. So there is that. Now, whiskey-wise, because the movie's called Miracle on 34th Street, I thought I should think a little bit about whiskey and the miracle spirit that it really is. It is known as a miracle cure, and it has been known as a miracle cure for many, many centuries. If you go right the way back to the 15th century, there were healers and doctors of the time prescribing whiskey and whiskey-based cocktails for pretty much every ailment there was out there. So it's a really, truly miracle drink. And for that reason, I've decided to have Lindores Abbey, because Lindores Abbey is a distillery that traces its roots right the way back to that era, that medieval era where whiskey was a medicine. And the distillery itself hasn't been around that long. The distillery at Lindores Abbey has only been there for a few years, but there is evidence that they can trace back right the way to 1494 when a spirit was produced there at the Abbey that they called aquavitae. Now, aquavitae is Latin for the water of life, and which is the perfect term for whiskey, right? It is the water of life. It is a miracle substance. And Lindores Abbey would like to claim that they invented whiskey, that whiskey came first from Lindores Abbey. That is disputed. There's loads of places that claim that make that claim, and nobody really knows exactly where. But certainly there is proof that they were distilling it as early as 1494, which is a pretty old long time ago. So for that reason, I'm going to have a Lindores Abbey. It's a lovely story that is linked to that place. And the one I'm going to have is this beautifully dark bottle here. This is the first time I've opened this. And it's so dark because this was fully matured in a PX quarter cask, but not just a PX quarter cask, a first fill. And so because it's a first fill, all the colour that's in the wood, all the colour that's in those in that oak barrel is all coming through into the spirit, which is why it's so dark. That, and of course the fact that it's a PX sherry cask. Now, this one, unfortunately, you can't pick this bottle up anymore unless they've got any left over at the shop. This is an exclusive cask bottling that was done for Mitchell's Wines over in South Sheffield. Give them a call if you're after one. See if they've got one hidden on the top of a shelf somewhere, but I'm pretty sure they've sold out. But luckily, there's loads of others Lindores Abbeys out there, all with similar dark colours in there as well, and some great sherry finishes out there as well. So, yeah, absolutely give that a go if you can. I'm really looking forward to drinking this. I did try it over at a whiskey festival a few months ago, but that was the last time I tried it, and it's when I picked up the bottle. So I'm very much looking forward to having a few sips of this. Oh, it smells gorgeous. So I'm going to go watch Miracle on 34th Street, the 1994 version. I'm going to go drink my whiskey, and I will see you in a little bit. Cheers. All right, I'm back after watching Miracle on 34th Street, and I enjoyed that. Yeah, that was good. Good, strong Christmas movie. Completely understand why it was one of my dad's favourites. Very poignant, lots and lots of sentimentality there, a lovely family story running all the way through, and ultra Christmassy. Yeah, so I get it. I completely get it. And Richard Attenborough was superb. Absolutely superb, as Santa, or is he? That was a nice approach. I know that the kid in it got a lot of praise, deservedly so, but I actually think it's Attenborough kind of holds the whole thing together, and he did a brilliant job. There is one thing with it that didn't sit right with me, that probably brings it down a couple of points in the scoring, and that for me is kind of the aesthetic with it. It's a film that was made in 1994, set in the mid-90s as well, and yet it feels like it's the 1950s, the whole film. And yes, I know it's based on a film that was made in 1947, and so maybe that's a part of it, but it really doesn't feel like it's in the 1990s, even though it clearly is. And it might be that's what they were going for. They wanted to do something ultra traditional, but for me, it's like they've missed a trick. It kind of doesn't work for me. It feels, I talk about movies dating out and things like that, but this doesn't feel like that. This doesn't feel dated. It just feels kind of out of place, or out of time, which is weird. Especially given it's a John Hughes film, and I mean he made Home Alone only a few years earlier. It feels like I don't know, an odd choice for me, but again, that's the way it goes. I know some people may love that, and I might be nitpicking a little bit, but yeah, I like to do that. In terms of scoring, like I said, it does deserve a good score. I am going to bring it down a little bit because of that aesthetic piece, but I'm still going to give it high marks. I'm going to give it 10 Lords of Leaping, which is a really, really strong score. Puts it up there in the higher echelons of the movies I've watched so far. Because, yeah, it does deserve it. It is a really sweet story. I would have no issues sitting down and watching this with my kid in a year or so. So, yeah, that was that. Very good fun. As for the whiskey, well, that was really good. The whiskey, I had a feeling. I know I had tried it a few months ago at a whiskey festival, but to be fair, I'd had a few whiskeys by that point, so my palate was probably not at its best. And this, though, is stunning. It really is. For its age, for the fact the distillery's not been around that long, while they may have been making whiskey on that site for centuries, the distillery's only been around for a few years, and they've done a really good job with this, a really solid job. The cask was filled in 2019, and it was bottled in 2024, so it is only 5 years old. It's still quite young, and yet you get none of that kind of spirit burn that you sometimes get with those younger, more immature whiskies. It's all about the PX. It's all about the sherry coming through. It's very sweet, or maybe not as sweet as those bourbons that I had the other day, but it's still, quite sweet because of all those Pedro Jimenez, sherry notes coming through. Obviously quite fruity, some dark fruits in there as well. And yeah, it's quite complex. It is really quite complex, again, for its age, which is awesome to see. And so, yeah, fair play to Lindores and to Mitchell's. It's a really good it's a really good achievement. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10, maybe even a 9.5. It is really, really great. And the only downside is, like I said, I don't think you can get hold of these bottles anymore, unless they've got some hiding away over at the Mitchell's wine merchants. So we will, I may investigate, because now I've opened it, I'm not entirely sure how long this bottle's going to last, because it's really, really good. So that's me done. Miracle on 34th Street and Lindores Abbey. That was a pretty good one. That was a pretty good, solid little session. And I am pretty much now up to date. I've got another movie which I am watching later, which will bring me right the way back on track. So, success. All right. Thanks as always, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers.